Hey guys, what's up? I assume you remember me. I know it's been a while since I have made a video, but I assure you it's not because I have given up on life and no longer know how to function or speak. It's because, as you might be able to pick up on from the quality of this video, I have been upgrading all of my equipment. So I'm trying to be actually legit at this YouTube thing, but unfortunately I'm like a complete Luddite, so maybe you guys can just be patient and like help me while I try to figure out all this stuff that I don't know how to use. But as many of you know, I recently turned 28 years old, which means I have officially been an adult for an entire decade. And for essentially the entirety of that decade, I was dedicating myself as much as possible to figuring out how to be a functional and content person and healthy. And because I've been focusing so strongly on self-development and health, I have actually managed to learn quite a bit in my first 10 years of adulthood. And since I am a big believer in learning from other people's mistakes and experience, I thought I would share with all of you, because I know a lot of my viewers are younger than me, I thought I would share some of the most important things that I have learned in the last 10 years. First and foremost, it is of absolute and total importance for you to know yourself. You might be thinking, well, I am myself, so obviously I know myself. But I really gotta tell you that most people have no idea who they are, they have no idea what's important for them, they have no idea what they want out of life, they have a really hard time teasing apart other people's expectations for them from their own desires. And when you don't know yourself, you have virtually no chance of living the kind of life that is gonna light your soul on fire. And to not live a life that actually enlivens you is a waste of resources at best. It takes some time, but in getting to know yourself, you figure out things like, what are your strengths? And maybe more importantly, what are your weaknesses? When you know where you're strong, you can utilize those strengths without apology. And when you know where you're weak, you know where you're more likely to falter and where you need to bolster yourself. Another big part of knowing yourself is knowing what's genuinely, truly important to you at the core of who you are. And once you know, never abandon that for anything. Not love, not money, not fitting in, not doing what's easy. All of those things are smaller and less important than your own integrity and passion. And knowing who you are at the core of your being and sticking to it gives you that integrity. And going after what you want gives you the passion. When you know who you are, you know what you want. And you know how you can use your strengths to get you what you want. And you know where your weaknesses are likely to trip you up in the process. And when you go after what you want at the core of who you are gifted with unlimited passion and motivation and energy and drive to get you there. And that is the missing ingredient that 99% of people have lost in their lives or never had in the first place because they went and got a fucking accounting degree. Maybe accounting is what really turns you on, but not me. When you're doing something that you love, you have the motivation and the drive to do the consistent, repetitious, hard work that success demands of you. And basically, it makes you unstoppable. I didn't say it makes you rich, because that's a whole other thing, but it makes you feel satisfied. It makes you feel like you're doing what you were meant to do on this earth. The next most important thing I learned in my first 10 years of adulthood was to trust my instincts. When you know yourself, you know what makes you feel happy and what excites you and what scares the shit out of you. You get a much better ability to trust your own perception. You can tell the difference between something that's uncomfortable in a like push yourself outside of your comfort zone kind of way, and something that's uncomfortable in like a, oh my god, he's gonna rape and kill me way. Get out of the car. And though this is extremely useful in the case of creepy dudes, It's also really useful in things like determining career opportunities and whether or not it's going to be something that's actually good for you. Now, along these same lines, but kind of different, it's so important to trust your own perception, but you also have to understand that, the truth of the universe is not necessarily your perception. Other people have their own perceptions too. And just because two perceptions might be different doesn't make them both wrong. It's a genuine mark of maturity and experience to be able to hold true to your own perception of a situation while also hearing, acknowledging, and understanding someone else's perception as also and equally true without getting defensive or causing more unnecessary drama. Third life lesson from my first decade of adulthood is to try kindness first. This will save you from a whole smattering of drama and hurt feelings. So what I mean when I say try kindness first is pretty much give people the benefit of the doubt. Try to live under the assumption that people are, for the most part, just doing the best that they can. Just assume that us stupid, annoying, careless, self-destructive human beings deserve compassion and understanding, selves included. And try to approach situations where someone may have angered you or let you down from a place of assuming that they're doing their best. They didn't do it on purpose. Approach it with kindness and maturity, understanding, and knowing that your perception is not the only one. That said, you have about 3 chances to get your shit together and stop acting like a purposeful douchebag before I'm, done. I'm nice, I'm not a fucking doormat. The fourth most important thing I learned in my first 10 years as an adult is to take care of yourself first. We have all been on an airplane, we've heard them say it, put the damn mask on yourself first. You're no good to anyone if you're passed out on the floor. Depletion is the #1 threat to good people. Kind people burn out constantly because they know how important it is to give and give and give. But it is so important to understand in activism, in parenting, in your career, that you can and should only give when you have extra. And you have to be really clear about realistically what is extra for you. I know some people might interpret this as selfishness, and I think that's a pretty tragic misunderstanding, because it's not selfish to take care of yourself, and it's not selfish to guarantee your own longevity. Generosity is abused constantly, and it turns into bitterness. Kind, giving people are taken advantage of. Not on purpose, but just because they're giving so much away of themselves all of the time. You have to know when you have something extra to give and when you're giving from a place of emptiness, which isn't beneficial for anyone. I would rather have you on the team as a happy, healthy, less generous, vibrant you than see you turn into an apathetic, resentful turd of a human being, as happens to so many of us. So take care of yourself first. It's not selfishness, it's ensuring the survival of everyone in the long term. The fifth most important thing I learned in my first 10 years of adulthood is boundaries. Boundaries. Say it one more time. Boundaries are the key to healthy relationships. Now, the key to having boundaries, knowing your boundaries, and enforcing your boundaries is knowing yourself, trusting your instincts, and taking care of yourself first. Learning how to identify, respect, and uphold personal boundaries can feel fucking impossible if, like me, you were raised in a family that didn't have consistent boundaries, and if there were boundaries, they were very easily and violently violated. But I really gotta tell you, it is so worth the effort for your present and future relationships, as well as your ability to take care of yourself, to learn boundaries and very, very, very strongly enforce them. So if someone does something and it makes you feel shitty or small or used or lied to, etc., they have very likely violated one of your boundaries. I think it's actually really wise to keep like a journal or a running list that goes over your boundaries, such as I expect to be talked to with respect and maturity, or I don't share personal details about myself with people who haven't proven themselves to be trustworthy. And just as important as knowing what your boundaries actually are is knowing and pre-planning what you will do if and when someone violates that boundary. Such as, I will verbally address the person, I will describe how it made me feel, why, and what I would prefer to happen in the future, and I'll give them an opportunity to correct their behavior. If they don't, I will have to consider terminating the relationship. Stuff like that. And having your own boundaries is just as important as respecting other people's boundaries, because if you don't respect other people's boundaries and you, intentionally or otherwise, end up making them feel shitty, small, used, misled, etc., that's on you, and that will affect the quality of your relationships. My God, if I have learned nothing else, it's don't shit on the good people in your life. Be nice to them. They are few and far between. The sixth most important thing I have learned in my course as an adult is short and sweet. It's that life comes in waves. It's great. It sucks. It's wonderful. It is awful. It feels so good. And it hurts like hell. My God, it never stops. I thought that I would get to a point where I was like, okay, I've learned enough and I've done enough and like I'm a good enough person that like bad shit's not gonna happen anymore. It's just gonna be smooth sailing to the coffin. But no! The best parts of life don't last. And the shitty parts of life don't last. Life comes in waves, joy comes in waves, grief comes in waves. It's never ending, and it can get tiring sometimes, but that is why it is so important to take care of yourself first. The seventh most important thing that I learned in my first 10 years of adulthood and in my recovery from an eating disorder is that perfection doesn't exist. Just give up on that idea. It will serve you so much better to look for and purposefully find beauty in what is already in front of you. And seriously, if your hair is curly, stop trying to straighten it. It's just silly. Embrace and love what you have. If you're dissatisfied with your body or your face or anything about you, just fucking stop already, okay? Because those feelings of inadequacy are eating your life. Feeling that you're not perfect and beating yourself up for it isn't going to change anything. But learning to accept yourself anyway, that will change your life. Eighth little nugget of wisdom I picked up in my first 10 years of adulthood is that everyone's anxious, okay? We're all scared. Bravery and success is simply not letting anxiety paralyze you. It's probably never gonna feel easy. It's probably never going to feel right. You just gotta fucking go for it and hope that you don't throw up in your own mouth too much. The ninth thing that I learned in my first decade of adulthood, and am still learning, is that regrets and shame can ruin your life if you let them. Your past mistakes, you know, what's done is done, it's over. Those things don't define you. It's your intention and it's your current actions and your future actions that are going to define who you are. The past doesn't really have to have anything to do with that. So just, you know, you do what you can and you let the rest go. And shame cannot survive empathy and compassion. And shame is the root of almost all of the anxiety in our lives. It is the root of most addictions. It is the root of our overeating, our eating disorders, all of that. and it cannot survive empathy. So be kind and understanding with yourself, and equally as important, when you see someone else struggling and someone else in shame, I can't tell you how valuable it is to have someone who reaches out and says, yeah, me too. The 10th and final tidbit that I picked up in my first decade of being a mildly functional adult is that you matter. What you say and what you do has a huge, far-reaching impact. Your choices matter. Your actions matter. Your voice matters. Your pain, your fear, your strength, it all matters. It all has a purpose. Don't ever underestimate your importance on this planet. You do what you can, always do what you can. Alright guys, well, I hope, maybe you'll learn something from this too. Or if you're getting ready to enter adulthood, maybe you won't have to make all the mistakes I did. Which isn't true at all. It's one of the great ironies of life that humans are essentially immune from learning from our elders. Just imagine how much progress could be made if young people actually listened to the advice of older people. I mean, I guess it has its drawbacks as well, because you get a lot of older people who, live in fear and are very close-minded and want you to get that accounting degree. But there's such a wealth of life experience available that I wish I had tapped into when I was younger, more so, instead of looking at so many older people and just going, yeah, maybe that's true for you, but I'm good. So that's that. Happy birthday to me. Thank you, thank you. Questions, comments, go down below. I promise I will be around a lot more starting from now, maybe starting from next week. Okay, I'm gonna take another month off, just kidding. I'll see you around. Until next time, make better choices for yourself and take really, really, really good care. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm happy to be back. Wish me luck with this camera. Oh, and a little bonus. Always, always wear cotton underwear. This microfiber, spandexy, wicking bullshit? Nuh-uh. Natural fibers. I'm filming this with the wrong fucking lens. Oh my god.